Hello, and welcome to Cheers. That's one woman's opinion. I am your host, Carolyn Mills. Today we'll be looking at Cheers, Season 1, Episode 15. The episode is called Father Knows Last. It first aired January 20th, 1983. It was directed by James Burrows. It was written by Glenn Charles, Les Charles, James Burrows, and Heidi Perlman, who, as I think we've mentioned before, is Rhea Perlman's sister. The guest cast includes Mark King as Marshall Limpton, Jack Knight as Jack, Herb Mitchell as Tom. Mitchell died in 2011 from an undisclosed cause. Mary Ellen Trainor as Mary. Trainor died in 2015 from pancreatic cancer. And John Ratzenberger as Cliff Clayton. In our summary, in the cold open, Sam comes out of the office. Diane tells him that his date Bambi had to cancel because she had an accident. Sam asks what happened. Diane tells him that she fell off her shoes and starts to laugh. Sam says he has only 2 hours to find another date, and then he pulls out his little black book, and Cliff and Norm are amazed. Norm claims that gave off a beam of light. Diane can't believe that he still has a little black book. Sam names Christy Lavaroni. Norm wants to dial. He says that it's been a long time since he's run his fingers on some woman's digits. Sam says he hasn't seen her since Woodstock, and Diane's surprised that Sam went to Woodstock. He says a friend of him told him it's a good place to pick up shit. Diane said he wasn't there for the music, and Sam replies, there was music at Woodstock, which is kind of funny since, obviously it's a big music concert. It's all about music, and Sam is so clueless. Norm gives the phone to Sam and says that it's ringing. Sam finds out that Christy has joined a convent. He asks for the number there, and then he's hung up on. This is one of the longest cold openings that I have seen on this show. It was pretty funny, but it was very long scene compared to some of the other ones. Where everybody knows your name plays. Coach comes into the bar and he's very stressed. He tells Sam that when he renewed his license, they asked him to donate his kidneys. Sam says that they asked everyone that. And Coach says that it used to only cost $2. Carla is late. Diane says they all know why and does not know why they are not saying anything. Sam says that Carla is proud, and Carla comes in looking very pregnant. Coach says maybe it's gas. This line actually makes me laugh now. Made me laugh. Well, obviously I didn't see the original because I was a month shy of being two, and sorry, a month shy of being 3 years old when this first aired. But when I saw it in reruns, that always made me laugh. But now the line really makes me laugh about the gas because I actually know somebody who did not know she was pregnant and was having stomach pains, of course, contractions, and she went to the doctors to the hospital to get looked at because she thought she was having really bad gas, and a baby came out. Um, Her sister described it as that was one hell of a fart. So this line now really makes me laugh even more than it did before. Carla says hi to everyone. They say hi and act weird because they don't want her to know that they were talking about her. If you really want somebody to not know you're not talking about them, suddenly acting really weird in front of them is not the best way to do it. Carla goes and changes for work. Diane says that Carla's pregnant and needs her friends. Sam suggests then that Diane be the one that talks to her, but Diane says Carla has never called her a friend unless doofus is a term in endearment. They look at Norm. Norm says he and Vera never had kids and he knows nothing about the subject. Um, this line is strange to me because I don't think they've gotten to the point yet where Norm and Vera are trying to have a child. Um, I don't believe we've gotten to that if I remember correctly. However, you don't need to. have a child to recognize a pregnant woman. I mean, most people kind of get that. And odds are at some point in your life you come in contact with a child. So you kind of get that how I mean, he's an adult. He probably knows where babies come from and how it all works. I'm pretty sure by now. After all, he is the one that taught what. I try not to be spoilers, but sometimes it happens and it will happen later in my trivia of today. I do apologize for that. So always be aware you could get spoiled. But I'm assuming in the past 40 years people have seen this show. So it's kind of hard not to be spoilers. Anyway, Carla comes back from the back, and Sam tells her that they all want to know if she needs anything, that she should just ask. And she tells him that she's going to need a couple hours off at the end of April. Sam says that's fine if she doesn't want to talk about it. Carla explains that she just wanted to tell the father first, but now that he knows, she can tell the others. Then Carla goes over and tells them, and they act stupid again, like they didn't have a clue she's pregnant. Carla mentions she is a penniless mother of four. Sam gives her a raise. Diane says that Carla got a raise from the boss for getting pregnant and then wonders what she needs to do to get a raise from the boss. The guys start commenting that she needs to get a raise from the boss, meaning, of course, in the sense of making part of him raise. Sam asks about the father. Carla tells him that she got lucky this time with a nice, responsible man. Sam asks if they're getting married, and Carla says she would, but it goes against her belief that all men are Tojian. Marshall comes in with giant stuffed animals. The barflies are surprised. Marshall calls Carla Little Mommy. Carla makes a deal with him. If he doesn't call her that again, she won't put his tongue in the blender. Diane makes a toast to the parents, and Marshall takes the drink away from Carla. I was surprised by this. With a timeline, I didn't actually know when we started learning the dangers of drinking with pregnant women on the baby. I thought it was a little bit later than this, like in the later 80s. I just thought it being studied or whatever. But I found out that in 1973, fetal alcohol syndrome was first diagnosed. And in 1981, it's medical people started putting a warning saying that if you're pregnant, you should not drink. And this was 83. So about 2 years after. So they're pretty quick on this. And I actually like the fact that because Marshall doesn't make a big deal out of it, and neither Dean Carla or anybody else, he just literally takes the drink away and sets it aside. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot. So I was glad that that all happened. Carla goes back Carla goes to the back to lie down. And I love this. She comes in late. Now she's going back to lay down. And you see this throughout the entire series that the employees of Cheers basically do whatever they want. They come when they want, they go when they want, they work if they feel like they don't work. Sometimes people that don't work their work. It's very laid back bar. And my mom and I used to always talk about this when I was younger. How does Sam make any money? Nobody does any work. Norm has a tab, but he never pays. So it's, so Coach tells Marshall that he didn't know Carla and Marshall were dating. Marshall says that they only dated that one night, and before and after that, Carla showed no interest in him. I pointed out, I believe it was in the last episode that I did, to remember when Carla was kind of flirting with Marshall, because we now see this coming back. He makes the point of saying that she never paid attention to him before nor after. We see that flirtation right there. So that was probably about when this all happened. A little bit of continuation, which you don't always get on, well, sitcoms in general. As I pointed out before, that's just how sitcoms were back in the day. Every time I use the phrase back in the day, I feel old. So, oh yeah. So Diane goes back to talk to Carla. Diane tells Carla that Marshall is not the father, and Carla first plays dumb. But then Diane tells her, I'm proud of you. That shows really initiative. Carla confesses that she lied so that Marshall would support the baby. Diane then grabs Carla and pulls her by the hair. I've heard people make comments about Cheers not aging, especially when you see Sam and Diane when they are dating and they're fighting and whatnot. And there's that scene where he slaps her and she slaps him. Um, I've noticed actually it's not like a domestic violence thing just between Sam and Diane. Diane gets physical with other people too. You see it here with Carla. There's other scenes in an episode we did where Diane is Diane and Carla have that sit down there. When Carl tells her that I'm sorry, Sam's the father of Gino. And you see Carla and Diane going at it. Diane wants to attack Carla. Um, Car sorry, Diane has a bit of a mean streak at times where she's awfully physical. Um, I think that's just part of her makeup. She sometimes just gets so frustrated she doesn't know how to deal with it, and it just kind of comes out. Not that it excuses violence is never the answer, of course, and it definitely makes for some good sitcom stuff really to play it. But it's not just Sam attacking Diane. Diane attacks other people, including Sam, and you see it with Carla. Carla tells Diane how she got pregnant. She explains that she had a horrible day and she saw her ex-husband Nick. And on top of everything, it was their anniversary. They spent the evening together remembering the good times they had. But then they got a little carried away. And by little, I mean, obviously, she got pregnant. You can figure out the little part. Diane tells her that Nick is the man you once referred to as Seepish. Carl agrees Nick is disgusting, but he knows that one little spot on a woman. Diane doesn't believe Carl, so Carla starts nibbling on Diane's earlobe. Cliff walks in and is shocked, and he says, "I'm a ladies' kind of guy. I've seen all the right movies." And there's an episode later, I think it's in the Rebecca years, when he makes Nora makes a comment about Cliff watching the Playboy channel. So obviously this is also a reference here, because he says I've seen the right movies. So obviously now he's watching the Playboy channel. He's been watching because he says he knows about how women do. He must be watching lesbian porn. Just a little bit of a kinky guy. Yeah, I said it. They tell him that they were doing a science experiment. Diane has Carla nibble on Cliff's ear. Cliff says that he didn't feel anything, suggests they both try. Cliff tells him that sometimes there's a delayed reaction and Cliff leaves the pool room. Diane summarizes everything for Carla that Carla said. Carla replies, "Exactly." Carla tells Diane that raising 4 kids alone is hard, and so she's getting help. Diane tells her that what she is doing is wrong, but Carla does not care. And we know, obviously here she says raising them alone, even though Nick is the father of all of her kids at this point. He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't pay the support he should be doing. He doesn't really visit the kids. He occasionally sees them, but he's not really a father. He just is a sperm donor basically. And so kind of understand Carl's frustration. Obviously Diane's point is very valid, but you can understand why Carl feels the way she feels. Because Nick really is pond scum. Norm walks into the pool room and asks them what they did to Cliff. Carl asks what the problem is, and Norm says they just had to pry Cliff off the wooden Indian. The visual in my mind is very funny. Diane tells Carla the story of The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. If you are not familiar with the story, you need to go online and look it up. It's a short story. It's Poe, my opinion, is Poe's best story. Um, I absolutely love it. They have made short story movies, whatever those are called, of the story, that have been done well. I've seen one on PBS years ago, but I know there's a few of them. But basically, in the story, a man kills another man because the guy's got a funky looking eye and the other guy just can't handle the eye. It freaks him out. He feels like it's always watching him. So he kills the man. And then he has to get rid of the body. So he buries him under the floor. But then the problem is he keeps hearing the heartbeat. Boom, boom, just like Diane's doing. And he cannot get away from that sound. And of course, it's obviously not the man's heart because he's dead. It's his conscience. Um, but he keeps hearing boom, boom, that heart pounding. His guilt drives him crazy, basically, and he confesses everything, and they find the body under the ground, etc. Great story, better than I just told it. And you should check it out. So after Diane finishes, she's standing at a table where Tom and Mary are sitting. Mary then confesses she has been cheating on Tom and runs out saying that he deserves better. So as we see, the story here had the right effect on the wrong person. Carla tells Diane to leave her alone. Marcia tells Carla to come and sit with him. He asks her what they should name the baby, but Carla says they have plenty of time to think of names. Coach says that the biggest fight he ever had with his wife was what to name their daughter. She wanted to name her Lisa. You probably remember Lisa from one of the first episodes. I believe it was episode 3 or 4. Coach's daughter. So we all know Lisa. But Coach liked the name. Ugh, sorry about that. Science is acting up, so it's real hard to read today. But Coach wanted to name her Baby Girl Pantusa, which is what they called before they came up with the name Lisa. And it was loved the innocence of Coach and not seeing that little short thing. Marshall tells Carla he is going to change his will so that all of her children become beneficiaries. Carla's touched and tells him she didn't expect that. Then she yells, Diane, would you cut out with the stupid baboons? Sam tells Carla that Diane is in the back room. Carla gasps loudly and tells Marshall and takes Marshall into the office to talk to him. Diane comes from the back and Carla tells her, You win. I'm going to tell him the truth. Sam is very confused and asks Diane what's going on. Diane tells her that Carla lied and that Marshall is not the baby daddy. Of course, they didn't use the term baby daddy back then. Sam describes Nick as an insensitive macho pig with one thing on his mind. Diane says that some women are attracted to that, and Sam asks him to name one. So she grabs his little black book and starts reading the names listed in it. Did anybody not see that coming that was what Diane was going to do? Marshall comes out of the office and says that he is going home. Sam brings him back into the office to speak with Harry Carla. Sam tells Marshall, if you don't marry Carla, I'm going to. Marshall says that he's not going to marry her and leaves. Carla tells Sam, I got the veil in my locker. Who keeps their wedding veil in a locker at a bar? Like, does she have it there in case she randomly meets somebody and needs a quick wedding? I mean, who does that? Sam asks if she understands, and Carla tells him, Get out of here. You're all Trojan. Sam and the others are now feeling bad for Carla, and Sam says he wishes he had the money to help her. Coach agrees with Sam. Diane says the entire bar will adopt Carla's baby. Sam says they can take turns doing something for the child. They list the things they can do. But Coach cannot think of anything that he can do because every time he says, I can do this or that, Sam's like, well, why do you think? Like, for instance, he says, I can teach him to tie the Windsor knot on the tie. And Sam's like, well, why do you think you're wearing a clip on? You can't tie a tie. So finally, Coach says, well, I'll just sit there then. Carla comes out of the office just as they finish collecting the money. She announces that she is going home. Now, again, I get she's had a rough day. She just lost the not father of her baby who thought he was the father. Obviously, a lot of she brought on herself, like all of it. But again, she's just like, I'm going. She doesn't say, Do you mind if I leave early? I've had a rough day. She's like, I'm leaving. So she comes in late. doesn't do any work because she's in the back room, and then she comes back and announces she's leaving. And this is the kind of thing that works at Cheers. Anywhere else, you would get fired. Sam gives her the money and says they all want to help out with the kid. She looks overwhelmed and hugs Sam and Coach. Notice she does not hug Diane. Diane starts singing You'll Never Walk Alone, which, those of you aren't familiar with it, it's from a musical called Carousel by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II. That was actually their second ever Broadway musical. And I would point out, Shelley Long actually has a very nice voice. She sings here, and she sings. She starts the Amazing Grace song on another episode, and she's part of the Two Level song. And they say she actually has a pretty nice voice, even though she's not. Even though she's not known for it, I do think she has a nice voice. So anyway, the others join in as Carla walks to the door with everyone following behind her. As they near the end of the song, she holds up that pitcher of money, and then she turns and leaves proudly, ascending the stairs. I gave this episode 4.5 out of 5 beer nuts. I thought this episode was very funny, yet poignant at the same time. Our MVP for this week is once again Shelley Long. Even though the story is mainly about Carla, Shelley's the one that Diane is the one who gets her to understand what she did is wrong, even though it took a while. She's the one that obviously figures out to begin with what's going on. She starts the song, which again, I loved her voice. I thought she did a really great job with it. Yeah, Shelley's just phenomenal. It amazes me that I never appreciated how good she was when I was younger. My favorite line, Diane, baboom, 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 baboom. Is this having any effect on you? Carla, no. Sam, maybe you need bigger baboons. My runner-up for favorite line between Coach and Norm. Coach says, yeah, Norm, how come you and Vera never had kids? I can't, Coach. Gee, I'm sorry, Norm. I look at Vera and I just can't. Here's a little known fact. And spoiler alert, so if you want to stop, I understand. In all, Carla will have 8 children by the end of the series. From oldest to youngest, their names are Anthony, Serafina, Gino, Anne Marie, Lucio, Ludlow, and the twins, Jesse and Elvis. Question of the week. How many children do you have? I'm wondering how much you rate to this. I don't have any, but my parents had 8 children, so they get the whole having 8 kid thing. If you like this episode, I ask that you please click the buttons on whatever you're listening to, like, follow, comment, subscribe, etc. And you can follow us on Facebook at Cheers. That's One Woman's Opinion. There's a group on there. And I ask maybe you'd like to join. You can follow us on Instagram at Cheers One Woman's Opinion Podcast. And of course, you can always email us with questions, comments, etc. at cheersonewomanpodcast@gmail.com. Next episode we'll be looking at next week is Cheers Season 1, Episode 16, The Boys in the Bar. And that's One Woman's Opinion.